Good evening, everyone. I'm Dan Selman, the Deputy Supervisor. The Supervisor McNamara is not able to join this meeting today, so I'm going to do the best I can to help moderate the meeting, to somewhat chair. We do have another moderator in place too, who's going to help facilitate the technical part of the meeting. But what I wanted to do is just give a few minute grace period for people joining. It's a new committee and Zoom is not always most inviting. There's technical problems and it's between periods of the evening. So I want to give a few minutes grace period if we could before we get around for introductions, if that's all right with everyone.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Hey, Nicole, how are things next door? Maybe muted.
Yeah, people are still joining, so I'll give another minute or two here if that's all right. Moderator, I see a Ms. Coleman too. That's the attendee. I don't know if they're able to promote them. There are a couple new attendees.
Yeah, we've tried. Some people maybe want to stay there and we'll allow their talking if they just want to stay there. Yep.
Okay, I understand. So yeah, some people might be getting used to some of the prompts. I know, depending on your profession, not everybody uses Zoom 10 times a day, so it's understandable. Okay, so we're about 6 minutes in, so I think it's fair to start to be respectful of everybody's time. So again, I'm Dan Selman. I work out of the supervisor's office and the deputy supervisor. Supervisor McNamara is unable to join this meeting. But I think to start off with, we could do a round of introductions, kind of jumping as you see an opening. And if you could give your name and the HOA that you represent.
Hi, well, I'm Pansy Coleman. I'm from Wildbrook subdivision.
I'm Don Boynton Jr. I am a trustee for the township, and I'm also president of Country Walk 3 Homeowners Association.
I can go next. I'm Sanjay Singh. I'm the president for the Robinson River Park homeowner subdivision.
I'm Andrea Yerk. I am the president at Hickory Woods.
Hi, I'm Monica Jackson. I'm the assistant treasurer at Homestead.
I'm Terry Morioka. I'm the treasurer, the secretary of the Cape Condos HOA.
Hi there, I'm Conrad Welsing from Bayshore Condos.
David McAnally, the fire chief for Van Buren Township. I also live in Cobblestone Ridge condominiums.
Oh, I'm Glenn Johnson, president of the Cobblestone Ridge Estates.
We're neighbors.
We are. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully, it sounds like we're having some sort of a switch over with the association in November. So
Yeah. I'm looking forward to working with you guys.
I see in the chat, Nicole Bishop is president. I don't know if she might not be able to do audio, but she is president of River Park Condominiums.
My name is Rachel Stradling, and I'm the treasurer of Homeowners Association.
I'm sorry, you broke up. Could you repeat that again, Rachel? I'm sorry.
My name is Rachel Stradling. I'm the treasurer for Pine Forest HOA.
All right, have we missed anyone? Has anybody not had a chance to introduce herself yet?
Yeah, Lieutenant Charles Bazzi, Van Buren Township Police Department, run the Detective Bureau and Ordinance Code Enforcement and Animal Control.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
And you know what? I want to apologize. I did announce myself, but I failed to say that I am the president of the Wildbrook Subdivision Homeowners Association.
Okay. Who's that speaking? Is that Ms. Coleman?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I believe that's everyone, and I'm going to introduce Jennifer Price too. She is going to be our formal recording secretary for this board. She's a community services and recreation longtime account clerk. So we're very lucky to get her to be a recording secretary for this committee to record the minutes as best she can.
Good evening, everyone.
And I'm also going to empower her to, because we're on Zoom and there's technical stuff, feel free to jump in if you need anything repeated, Jennifer. I know it's going to be recorded and you can revert back to them, but if you want to get any clarification for anything that you're recording for the meeting, I want to empower her to jump in at any moment. Okay, so with that, Jennifer sent out kind of an outline, because, and we'll touch on this between a formal committee and a less formal committee. She sent that outline for basically some steps to walk through this meeting. And one of the first things she said was kind of revisiting the meeting minutes, which had been sent out a couple of times. I don't know if anybody has had a chance to review them or not. And I did the best I could the first go around to record without being overly exhausted a lot of the details, a lot of the comments that were made by each member that attended the meeting. So with that, I'm going to kind of just revisit them and follow up on one of the main things that I got from the last meeting, which was there were several comments from different HOAs about speeding, and they requested that some law enforcement give some attention to those areas because, you know, it's not always easy for, you know, different patrol officers to surveil every single area of a township, and HOAs being in, you know, inside communities. I wanted to see follow up on those. So there were several that were noteworthy in saying that they would like attention for speeding enforcement in their HOA, and that was River Park Condos, Bell Harbor, Country Walk Phase 1, and Homestead. So if I could, if we could use the raising hand function, we did that during the first meeting to try to recognize people in order on who would timely with our comments, that would be respectful of everybody's time. So from River, who would like to comment on if they have seen some law enforcement more in the area, at least have noticed a difference with speeding?
Dan, you might want to repeat just a little bit of that last portion of what you said, because you started
Did I
to
freeze
sputter
up?
up. Yeah, you froze up on us.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Between River Park, Bell Harbor, Country Walk Phase 1, and Homestead, where the most people were noticed trying to get speeding enforcement done in their HOAs. So I wanted to follow up with each of those condos because they made specific note to mention speeding to see if they have noticed a difference in their area.
Okay, this is Monica Jackson. I do have my hand up on the screen.
Okay, what I was referring to, there's a raise hand function in Zoom on your bottom right.
I have that up.
Allows, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I see it now, and I see Sanjay's next. I see
Right.
these are a little bit different than I've seen before. So go
Okay.
ahead, Monica. Thank you.
So, hello. So yes, we do have the sign that was put up, the little electronic sign. However, two issues with that. Is right, it's maybe 3 houses when you enter off of Ecorse. No one's speeding at that point because they've just entered the subdivision. So it's not placed in a good spot. One, it only worked maybe 2 weeks, and now it hasn't worked now in about, it's been a few weeks since it hasn't worked. So there's no, it's not capturing any, it's not showing any speed as you drive past. Initially it was, but then, you know, I got some feedback from some of the neighbors saying that it is too close to the entrance because that's not where we're experiencing it. I don't know if it's going to make a difference anyway, because they're still speeding. I came out of my driveway the other day and a lady came around the bend so fast that I didn't even see her when I first looked that way. Next thing I know, she's up on me. So she was moving pretty fast, but that, when you come in the first off of Ecorse, 2 or 3 houses, you're not going to catch anyone speeding at that point.
Okay. Just to clarify, so the sign itself was functional the first couple of weeks, and then it kind of,
it's not functional.
Functionality what was not working as well, is what you're saying,
No.
right? Okay.
Now, when I rode past it the other day, it was night and I could see a little light on, but there's no, you know, before it was actually showing you how fast you were going. It's not doing that anymore.
Okay. Okay. Sanjay, you had your hand up as well.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that some action had been taken on speeding. I also had a general question on enforcement, but we can table that till later.
Okay. Okay. We'll get to that. We do want to try to address everybody thing, but for the first part, as far as following up a little bit on the meeting, did anybody else have any comments as far as speeding goes for those HOAs that had noticed that? Okay. I'm not seeing any other hands for that. Another part in the another part of the minutes that was mentioned was requesting that somebody from the police department be represented and somebody from ordinance. So I wanted to thank Lieutenant Bazzi. He satisfies both as head of ordinance and also high up in the police department as our lieutenant. Did anybody else want to make any comment about the minutes or following up from last meeting?
Yes. General comment. Many of the issues that were reported are common to most of the HOAs here. So drains, drain tiles, other things. So if we could just make like a grid, like a chart, and then report the problems and then run the HOAs along the side, and you can very quickly see what's in common to all the HOAs, and that way you can percolate who's expressing what concern and address it in that manner. But one of the most common, like speeding, or the other thing was drainage and drain tiles. So it would save a lot of reading when we do something like that.
Right.
Good
Yes,
idea.
I do remember that comment, and I think you had mentioned doing a Google Doc, and I think that there might have been. I do remember that comment, and I think that having a Google Doc that was completely controllable to everyone can kind of get a little less useful if any member could jump on there and start typing in different things, that it would be a little less useful. So we could definitely take a look at a way to notice issues like that and to record things like drainage tiles that you had spoke about in detail last meeting.
And including enforcement and things like that too, because if all the HOAs are having the exact same problems, then maybe the township can step in and create an ordinance versus each HOA trying to fight each neighbor independently. So once this grid is there, it's very easy to see where to focus on.
Okay.
Good idea.
Thank you.
Okay, did anybody else have any comments to follow up from the last meeting? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. So I'm gonna move on to kind of the next topic that Jennifer Wright had outlined in there. And this was suggestions for setting the direction for the committee. So as I spoke about, we have traditional committees that have bylaws that are advisory to the board. This was kind of set up as an informal committee with a venue and be able to have open forum and discussion. What we had wanted to do was kind of have the township take the lead in setting up these first few meetings and to get as much representation of HOAs as we could out there. But we also wanted to kind of put it in your guys' hands to be able to set the direction of what you would like to see this committee become. And we had a lot of different ideas that were thrown out there from last meeting. But I kind of wanted to record is it more beneficial, or just getting thoughts on this, whether it's more beneficial to be an informal venue and kind of a forum for people to kind of share ideas and kind of maybe the township can provide some guidance here and there? Or would the members here like to see this be more of a formalized committee where bylaws are set up and setting up a chair of the meeting and having advisory recommendations for our board of trustees? So by hand, Sanjay, I see you had your hand up first.
Yeah, so that's a great question. Until we get our feet and legs under us and have these common, things placed in some situation, I think informal probably works. But once we're tracking everything, then we can become much more formal. So that's my idea for now.
Thank you, Sanjay.
I would say that considering the weight and magnitude of what we have, because we do have pretty much a entity that is filled with residents of the township, that carries a great deal of weight in and of itself, plain and simple. I would like to see us more formalized, have a committee status, all of the things that goes along with setting up a board of that matter, like the Environmental Commission, like the Planning Commission, maybe not on the same level as the Planning Commission, but the same as all the other committees and commissions that there are throughout the township. That way, when we do have something that is pertinent, especially something as heavy as drain issues, we have immediate bite, we have immediate teeth in whatever it is that we're going to be, or we'll take a bite out of, and we will have an immediate effect, as opposed to being informal. That's the only trepidation that I have right now. I think this really needs to be a certified, bona fide commission sponsored by the township.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Boynton. And I just want to read real quick that was put in the chat that followed Sanjay's comments, that Nicole Bishop and Rachel Stradling both said that they agreed with Sanjay's perspective on that. So I just wanted to note that. And township inspectors especially. Nicole Bishop, I saw that you followed up with saying township inspectors especially. If you want to clarify on that. She might not be able to use her audio, so I'll do my best I can to monitor the chat. But in the meantime, I saw that Mr. Welsling, who hasn't commented yet, has his hand up.
Hi, Dan. I think it's like Sanjay said, at this point, the informal nature of this, we're trying to drum up interest in the overall committee participation. And I know after the first meeting, we had a lot of people just said, hey, somebody's listening to us. But I'm not sure we're quite at that level yet where we could start to organize things. Something as simple as a Google Docs or a spreadsheet where you can say, hey, there are more than 2 or 3 issues that are common to all of us. And then some, of course, rise to the top. I mean, to the point, should this be formal? Well, if it rises to the top, we sure would like to see some formalized process to get it to the right, either department or to get it to the right commission. But for right now, I think informal and getting more participation from the various HOAs is probably the key point.
Got it. Okay. Let me just, I appreciate your comments, Mr. Welsling, and let me just note really quick in the chat that following Trustee Boynton's comments, Monica Jackson said that she agreed with that stance, and so did Chief McAnally, more of the stance of having a formalized committee. But so I want to acknowledge that, and also kind of note Mr. Welsling's comments about the Google Doc and kind of seeing where these issues could kind of rise. We could address some of them and not address any of them. So Ms. Coleman, I do see your hand up as well. Maybe in having a shareable Google Doc might be a way, but let me just put this out there, that as the way we record issues and kind of correspondence and communications for this committee, that maybe a better way is to use our recording secretary by sending her an email and creating a spreadsheet that would be viewable to every committee member might be the most feasible way, instead of having a Google Doc that could be open and manipulated by different members or open to the public, that there might be a more streamlined way of reporting concerns that would be viewable to all the members. Does that sound reasonable? By being able, if Ms. Price was to share her email, and I got to talk about her to see if that's okay with her, but by being able to record some of these concerns that are coming from the committee members.
That's no problem at all, Dan.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I've not seen anybody have, Sanjay, I do see your hand.
I completely agree with Don Boynton. But once we formalize, I mean, as Nicole Bishop has mentioned in the chat, there are a lot of places where we need to put incredible pressure, such as Wayne County, to fix things. So I want to formalize as quickly as possible. So it's not my intention to stay informal, but as some of the members here are, police lieutenants and fire townships and, trustees, you guys know government stuff better than the rest of us. But as soon as we catch up, I want to go after Wayne County as a collective to fix a lot of things that need to be addressed, that as individual HOAs we cannot.
Okay.
So that's my
Well-
intention was not to not formalize, but
Real
Well-
quick,
well-
I want using the hand feature. I know we. I don't mean to cut you off, trustee, but I want to kind of try to stay with this pause and with somebody who hasn't had a chance to speak, because I did see Ms. Coleman had her hand raised, and I want to kind of use an order with that. So I'm gonna go to Ms. Coleman, and then Lieutenant Bazey has his virtual hand raised as well. So I was gonna go to him to follow up with that. And Trustee Boynton, I'm going to follow up with you. Okay. So, Ms. Coleman, I saw you had your hand raised.
Yes, you did. And I chatted as well. I sent a text, but I agree with Sanjay, as far as it being informal now, but I also agree with Don Boynton that we do need to formalize, because that's how we're going to get our leverage to expedite some of the issues that we're having in our community, especially drains. That's a major problem in the Wildbrook subdivision. You know, and I've reached out to Wayne County, the Drain Commission, and haven't got anywhere. So yeah, I do believe that it does need to, we do need to formalize, just so we can have the teeth that we need to move things along.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Lieutenant Bazey?
Yeah, I also agree with Sanjay about keeping this informal too. We can really figure out exactly what direction we want to go on these issues. If we formalize too quickly, we might bog ourselves down. I would like to see a lot more participation from some of the other HOAs, because if we're going to go to the county level and put pressure on them, we need everybody on board, because the only way we're going to get things done is through the county commission.
Okay. I'm seeing a lot of agreement with that. And I think where Sanjay's point was kind of doing this in a progressive nature until we got participation and had some and started maybe have suggestions for well thought out bylaws. That makes a lot of, I think that's what he was getting at, to kind of go do this at a step-by-step, well thought out manner. Trustee Boynton?
Well, the only thing that I wanted to add in was that even though, and I'm not being combative, I truly support Sanjay's position. Absolutely. Let me say that first. I truly support his position. Absolutely. We want to be informal and progressively work up, but we need to have some structure. We need to have some foundation, some type of way, so that when we address some things that we as governmental officials know about, that maybe the rest of the HOA commission doesn't know about, when we address those things, we can address them, and we can address them with leverage and a surety. And also by the fact that we know these things, but when we're here at this meeting, you know, I'm not in this meeting right now as a trustee. I happen to be a trustee, but I'm not really addressing as a trustee. Right now, I'm here as president of Country Walk 3 Homeowners Association. I'm representing all of my homeowners in Country Walk Association 3, just as my colleagues for 1, 2, and 4 and the villas that attend also. So we need to do a little bit of both, because I did see in the chat just a minute ago that someone said that, you know, their street floods and it floods pretty bad. And, you know, I didn't read it, but I would imagine, you know, the street floods and what are they going to do about it? And apparently it's flooding a lot. We have some issues around here in Country Walk where we have now we're being built out. So we have a lot more homeowners, which means we have a lot more home sewage, and we have a lot more rain runoff because we have development in the community. So we need to do a little bit of both. We need to do a little bit of both, you know, plain and simple. But yeah, we need to do both. Yes, Sanjay.
So to build on what you said, I've got the as-built plans for my subdivision and Nicole's subdivision. We've identified the catch basins, we've identified the broken pipes, we've identified the sinkholes, we've identified where the flooding occurs. But until I identify it for all the other HOAs, and then go as as a township to Wayne County, there's no denying it. But if I just go there to solve my problem and Nicole's problem, they'll just blow us off. But yes, I've done the homework. I've gone to the township, bought the plants, and this is what I have to teach the rest of the HOAs how to do that as well. So I would like to formalize within a month, if possible, as quickly as possible, but because there's a lot of things that are outstanding that need to be solved.
Okay, thank you, Sanjay. And I wanted to just revisit something very quickly about the Google Doc, because I had my moderator, Alicia Albrecht, remind me of something that we did have actually a Google Doc that was ready to go and is posted to our website. I don't know if it was shared. It might have been shared in the email earlier on after the committee had started. But we do actually have a Google Doc available through the township website on vanburen-mi.org that on the links to the different committees, there is a coalition HOA committee link. And on that site, if you go there, there is a portion that says, have a concern to report about, does your HOA have issues and concerns that the township could help with? If so, let us know. And that there's a link to be able to have a fillable form out there that you can kind of report some of these concerns. So I don't necessarily need to get away from maybe sending any correspondence to Jennifer Price as part of the committee, but we actually do have a Google Doc already set up. And that could be a shareable link that would be viewable only. And that's how we went about navigating having a completely open doc. We put a viewable only form out there and then set up a fillable Google Doc that we can start reporting some of these concerns. So I just wanted to revisit that real quick, that is available for anybody here's use.
Just to confirm, Dan, this is Alicia, the moderator. Dan, you're 100% correct. The only problem was we have not made that form viewable because it has personal information. We can send it to each and every one of you if you want. We just didn't want to put that publicly, so.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that clarification, Alicia.
Yeah.
Also, you might want to be careful because whoever has the link can also open it. So if somebody forwards it on, it just gets open to everybody.
Yeah, great point, Sanjay. Thank you.
Okay. With that, we'll kind of move along. I think we got a pretty, anybody else is feel free to make a comment on it, but I think we got a pretty good consensus of at least in the direction of where we'd want to move into to make it a more formalized board. I would say a month would be a little bit ambitious. We would have to have several of these meetings. We'd have to have a lot of thought made into doing a bylaws. The structure of it would be kind of tricky, especially as we got more involvement of different HOAs in there. How you would have a committee that has 15, 20 members or something like that. And I know that we had a couple of representatives that in the previous meeting that was from different, that was part of the same HOA, and we had two representatives. So we would definitely have to clean that up. They would have to really select who would they want their representative for their HOA to be. But with that, we can kind of, if anybody would like to comment more about having more of a formalized or informal board, they're free to do so. But by any hands are free. I kind of want to use this also as an open comment period for anybody to talk about how they would like to see the direction of this committee used.
If somebody wants to go first, but I do have some comments.
Okay, go ahead.
I see us, all the folks here in three categories: HOA with county roads, HOA with private roads, and condos. And then when we make our chart with what are the problems we're having, then list in those three categories of how we could potentially address these problems. Because I'm an HOA with county roads. I have a different set of problems, whereas across the street is Homestead, which is an HOA with private roads. They have a lot more power. They can solve things that I can't potentially solve. So this is my idea of, to formalize, and I can help whoever's making this chart fill it out as well, based on the last meeting minutes, which are very well documented. But I would like a lot of problems solved, and I would like to take this ahead as fast as possible. But I need to talk to the folks that understand government, which I don't.
Okay. Thank you, Sanjay. Any other comments? Okay. I'm not seeing any right now, so unless anybody has anything else to add to that, by a show of hands, I'm gonna kind of move on to the next topic that Jennifer Price had shared, and this is came from correspondence from Mr. Welsling that he sent me about adding a topic like this to the conversation. So, Mr. Wells, I'm going to turn it over to you and just read what that portion was policy and ordinances regarding signs, banners, flags displayed at complexes. With the political season approaching, this may be a good time to discuss this. So I shared a document that had our ordinance for flags, which was section 11.108 zoning district regulations, which is on page 11 and 12 in our code of ordinances. But I'd be happy to share that with anybody who would like a copy. But maybe Mr. Wilson, he can give us a little background of why he chose to explore that and wanted to discuss it.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I think all of our associations have at one time or another had something pop up, and I mean that literally, whether it's a sign or a banner or a flag, and we're headed into another political season soon. And we look for that common ground on how can we talk to someone about it, and what ground do we have to stand on. I really appreciate you sending me the ordinance. I didn't know about it, and I'm not sure that our association knew about it when they just rewrote their new sign, flag, and banner ordinance, because it ought to be compatible and building on the township's thing. It also allows us a fallback. Hey, it wasn't us that said that; it was those guys. And it's not just a cop out. The fact is, we're not making these things up. We're not pointing to somebody's banner because we might not happen to agree with what it says. So that's what started it. And I think this is the perfect forum for us to share those things. The fact is, the township has an ordinance that we should all be building on. If we are faced with these things, are there signs on lawns and windows? Are they on the public common areas? Because that comes up too. Let alone, what if they're on township property right outside the complex? What do you do then? And again, it's not because someone objects to it. It's how do we get that fairness, or what do we use to judge when we say, I don't think I want that there, or you know what? I want it there and I'm putting it right across from Dan's house. So that's why I brought that subject up. I think it's a topic we could all discuss as we move through the next couple of months, but falling back on the township ordinance is great. And I appreciate you sending that to me.
Thank you. You found you found it helpful?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna, with that, I'm gonna feel free for anybody else to comment on that too, but I'm gonna forward that right now to Ms. Price. So she can, you don't have to request it. I'm just going to share that document that talked about ordinances and where you would find it. And she could just include that as an attachment, as email blast to the entire group. So if anybody else finds it helpful for their HOA, we'll just automatically share it.
But just so you know, that comes out of the zoning ordinance, and that is not on the website yet, I believe. But our code of ordinances is located at Municode. There's also a link to it on the township website. So there's a few things that are addressed in zoning that are not addressed in the general code of ordinances.
Thank you, Lieutenant Bazzi. Okay. Okay, not seeing too many other comments on the side. So what I'm going to do is just really quick revisit some of the comments that were left in the chat. Nicole Bishop, we have a lot of structural issues that can only be explained that inspections were not up to par. We will be addressing this more when we submit balcony replacement engineering packet to township. Ms. Coleman said, I agree with Sanjay. However, I would like to see a plan to formalize, as Don stated, we need to leverage to expedite certain issues. Bishop commented again, yes, Wayne County also. Jeremy Road floods. This is a major thoroughfare that serves two large communities. Floods to the extent that cars have stalled out and vehicles drive over the landscaping and sidewalks to pass. And then Sanjay commented, please do share the link for VBT ordinances. Okay. Okay, I'll do my best to not losing anything in here. I'll do my best to share that link without getting disconnected from Zoom here. Did Mr. Dwight Snodgrass, did he just join the meeting? Okay. I don't know if Dwight is able to turn his mute off. I think we have a late joiner, so I just wanted to acknowledge him.
Yes, I did. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. So thank you for joining. This meeting is recorded, so we're going to give you, it will be posted on our website so you can review everything. But if you want to just introduce yourself, which kind of you're representing, and anything that you wanted to add, just jump in, being able to join.
Yeah, sure. First of all, good evening, everyone. My name is Dwight Snodgrass. I represent the Wildbrook subdivision as the vice president. And I apologize for being late. Other priorities kind of came in on me. So, but nonetheless, yeah, I'm just here as attendee, listen in, and of course, change whatever ideas and views that I may have at probably a little later. So.
Thank you. And then we'll see in the chat, Lieutenant Bazzi was able to share that site, which is munichcode.com, that will have the Lieutenant Bazzi that has the entirety of Van Buren Township's ordinances. Lieutenant Bazzi? Okay. He says if you click on that map and go to and then it'll take you to Michigan, and then I'll take you.
Yeah, that's the complete code of ordinances for Van Buren Township.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. So with that, here, not a lot of comment more about the signs, but I'm going to have that entire document shared with the group. I'm going to go to Mr. Welsling's next comment, which was stormwater and storm sewer and water runoff. Who is responsible? So I deferred this question to my public services director, Matt Best. His response was, in a development with an HOA, the stormwater system is the responsibility of the HOA. They own and maintain it. Water runoff from properties are the responsibility of the property owners outside of a drainage easement. If there is a water runoff dispute between two property owners, they are between the two property owners. Sanjay, I see your hand.
So this is why we need to coordinate.
Yes.
Mr. Best has a straightforward answer that doesn't help anyone. Ecorse Road is draining into my neighbor Nicole Bishop's condo, and my neighbor Nicole Bishop's condo is draining into my BBT lines, which according to the stormwater agreement, I would be responsible for. Why am I responsible for draining a major thoroughfare and pay $3,500 to clean out my standpipe every year? So I understand Mr. Best's answer, but until we look at this as a little bit of a global problem and go back to Wayne County, whoever designed this, and we need a little bit more equitable solution, because not only is Ecorse Road not possible, my neighbor Nicole Bishop's subdivision is drowning cars. People are driving on the grass, and there are 3 spots in my subdivision that are flooding. So I don't accept his answer for the moment, even though it's directed to another sub, but we collectively have to solve this problem.
Okay, I'm a little bit confused. You say Ecorse Road is draining into your sub.
Through another sub.
Through another sub. So
yes.
How is that happening? And if I'm getting too technical, let me know.
Because Wade Trim signed off on this.
Say it again.
Wade Trim signed off on this. The developer just declared bankruptcy, and no one knew any better until Nicole and I went investigating what the heck's going on. And when we've got the as-built plans, it's right there, clear as day, all the piping and everything, all the broken stuff. and we don't know who to point fingers to. So, it's too premature to point fingers. We know there are problems and we have to address it at some kind of a collective level. So as we individually go to Matt Best, he gives us an answer that doesn't help anyone.
Okay, where are you on Ecorse Road? I'm sorry.
We're in between Haggerty and Belleville Road. We're on the south side of Ecorse Road on Jeremy Road. Jeremy Road enters River Park condominiums and then comes into Robinson River Park Homeowner Association.
Oh, you're over there by Walden Woods.
We are east of Walden Woods and south of Homestead.
South of Homestead, east of, okay. Okay.
So yeah, I don't intend to solve this problem today. However, I do intend to bring it up that this is a problem that's been ongoing for 15 years. And there's, we would rather collectively solve this than go fight one at a time with people that there's no progress is being made.
Thank you, Sanjay. Did anybody else have any comments based on the response that was provided about storm sewer and water runoff? Okay. I'm not seeing any. So I do appreciate your comments, Sanjay, and it's duly noted, and and I know our director did his best to provide an answer, and we'd like to find a solution that would work for people, even if it's outside of our jurisdiction. Ms. Coleman, I do see your hands raised.
Yes, and I raised my hand because I'm totally in the dark. I do, with regard to the water runoff, the entire drain situation. We've had problems for years in our subdivision where our private roads have flooded. So I would really like to get a better understanding of what we're talking about as it relates to what we have going on in our subdivision. So if I could be, we could be provided with some sort of walkthrough or guidance or assistance, that would be greatly appreciated for Wildbrook.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Now, I am by no means an expert on this topic, but I'm gonna read part of it to the best that I understand it. That in development with an HOA, the stormwater system is the responsibility of the HOA. So I think where the drainage block off is, it depends on where it begins, whether it becomes the responsibility of the county and where it feeds into the HOA when it becomes them as a property owner that becomes their responsibility. So I know there's a lot of push and take on who, because nobody obviously wants to take responsibility. It's very expensive to do these drain clear outs. But I think to your question, that's kind of where the cutoff is, as best as I understand it. And if I hear something different, I'd be happy to share it with the group. That's my understanding of it, is that the drainage responsibility begins at the entrance of the HOA of where it feeds into it. And then obviously the township it does not have jurisdiction of these drains that would fall back on the county. Ms. Jackson, I see you have your hand raised. Had your hand raised next.
So we're having an issue with flooding as well. We were told by Wayne County that our roads are not under their jurisdiction, but it's a little concerning because prior to this year and last year, we were. So now all of a sudden, because it's a big problem, we're not under their jurisdiction. So we are FOIAing all of the documentation, all of the tickets and everything that will show us when Wayne County we were then under their jurisdiction and they were providing us service. And now we're not. So we need to know what caused us not to be under their jurisdiction. We had a guy out here from Wayne County who has come before, was cleaning out the drain. His supervisor came and pulled him out of the sub and told him he should not be touching our drains, yet they have been touching them for years prior. So I work for Wayne County. I know the bureaucracy that goes on. So I'm not 100% accepting what is being told to us by Matthew Best. He worked for the county too, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just concerning to me that now that we have a big problem, you don't want to touch us. But before, when it was just maintenance of the drains, you were okay. So I'm a little concerned about the flip-flopping and why there's a flip-flop and why what caused us to now be covered at this point.
Okay. Mr. Welsing, I saw you had your hand up next.
Well, I was just going to mention that what prompted my note to you on this to make it a topic in the meeting was we just had our stormwater drains scoped out with a robot camera. And we're not anticipating problems, but we'd sure like to know if there are some. And that's what prompted my question is, where do these things begin and end? Now I see there's a lot of people with the same question. We're going to get our report back. And, you know, it'd be terrific if it said, man, everything is flowing fine. But if it ain't, where are we going to start the discussion? And that's what's coming up with other people. So I appreciate you putting it on this agenda. And now we've heard more about it. And having the video thing, that's going to be it's actually our benchmark for us, you know, during the next 10 years, things we might want to budget internally. And that's why we did it.
Thank you, Mr. Welsing. I saw Lieutenant Bazzi had his hand up next.
Okay, over at the police department, we have a list of HOAs that are public and private. I'm going to suggest that we look at what we have going and determine from here on out with all the HOAs who has the responsibility for their drains and whether that's the HOA or the county. Now, I'm going to throw this out there just from what's been happening since I've been dealing with ordinance is a lot of HOAs are under the assumption that it's the county's responsibility to maintain their drains and their detention ponds. And the detention ponds are neglected. And then when things happen, the county doesn't step in and it's not the county's responsibility. So I think it's really incumbent upon every HOA to do their homework and find out who is actually responsible. So systematically, we can look at the problems that you're having and get them solved.
Thank you, Lieutenant. And they're able to access those records. Did you say from the police department to determine,
No,
or through the
building and planning?
Building and planning.
Building and planning.
Okay. So thank you, Lieutenant Bazzi. So building and planning will be able to provide some guidance between some private and public of drainage areas. Sanjay, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah.
And then Andrea Jerk, you were next. And then I see.
I can collectively answer everybody's question. I've been trying to sort this out for a while. So first thing is you go to Matt Best's office and get something called as-built plans for your subdivision. It'll show as-built plans. It'll show all your drainage systems and everything, all the catch basins that are on it, and all your detention ponds and the elevation levels that they're supposed to be at. The next thing you need to do is find out if your roads are public or private. If it's a Wayne County road, it's a dedicated road. Your homeowners are paying taxes for that road to be taken care of. If it's a private road, then you're responsible for all maintenance on the road. Now, for people who have county roads like me, there are catch basins in the street that are all Wayne County responsibility. So I have a huge sinkhole in one of my homeowners' yards. That is Wayne County responsibility that they don't come. These Wayne County drains drain in the back of the subdivision into Van Buren Township drains, which Mr. Best is referring to. The homeowner association takes care of the township drains. And those township drains then drain into ponds, which the homeowners association is supposed to take care of. So for me, I've got a e-course road draining through a privately owned subdivision, Nicole Bishop, with a county road that's also draining into it. with my county roads draining into my private pond, and I'm spending $3,500 a year trying to get that cleaned and moving, and everything is flooding. So there's all kinds of finger pointing. So once we categorize, hey, are you an HOA with county roads? Are you an HOA with private roads? What does your as-built plan looks like? What was it supposed to be built as? Then you can do a better job of wrapping your arms around where do we go for collective bargaining or collective negotiation or pushing on the county or what. So independently, Matt Best can only do what he can do. He's giving answers that are really not solving the problem. And there's no need for me to keep yelling at him. We've got to work as a collective and pin this down. So again, as built plans and dedicated roads.
Thank you, Sanjay. That's excellent feedback. Andrea Jerk, you were next.
I just want to say it's Yerk. The J.
Yerk. I'm sorry, Yerk.
That's okay.
Yerk, am I saying it right?
You're saying it right now.
Okay, sorry.
I give everybody a freebie, a free pass the first time.
All right.
Yeah. Just kidding. So in light of what whoever was speaking before Sanjay.
Sanjay, yeah.
So when it's a case, okay, so I'm in a condo community. Everything we have is ours. It's all, we have to pay for everything. However, my question is, who do we address for approving a really poorly thought out plan for building ponds in a wetland? Who do we go after for not setting up anything correctly and accurately? Because nothing that's been talked about so far applies to my community. But when I talked to Mr. Best a couple weeks ago, when he called me about building, about this proposal for this new community to the west, just to the west of my community, and I asked him about this, he was like, basically, you're out of luck. Great, that's what I get every time I talk to anybody. Our community's crap out of luck. We're going to flood out more than half of our community, including all the electrical mains, all of the telephone hookups, all of the cable hookups, anything that makes running this community a community. I'm sorry, I'm getting stumbled on my words because it's been a really long day. Anything that makes this community run for more than half of the community is going to be underwater if we don't drain our ponds into the vacant land at the back of our community that we are in the process of finalizing a lawsuit to get that property back. And we'd like to finish the build to bring our property values up, but then we have no place to pump our ponds and a third of the community will be underwater, or half of the community will be underwater.
Okay.
So who do I address next?
I mean, based on what the director says, it's probably either the condos issue, or if it's with the county, that it would be in their systems. Lieutenant Bazzi's comment was Van Buren Township is not responsible for any roads or drainage system by law. We don't have responsibilities. These issues fall on the builder, HOA, and then the county. So I know that might not be the answer that you want to hear, but
I guess for me, the problem is more that someone at the township or someone at the county approved 20 years ago these terrible plans that they knew were going to cause problems. And that's why Tanya, or I'm sorry, not Tanya, but Monica, that's why they're ignoring us and throwing it back at us, because they know they screwed up, because they had old man handshakes going on back in the day. And it's really frustrating.
I totally agree.
Comments heard. Ms. Coleman, you've been waiting patiently.
Yes. And you know what? And it was for a good reason, because I totally agree with what was just said. I wondered how our entire drainage system got approved, because we do have private roads, and I get it. Thank you, Sanjay. I will get those as built plans and dedicated roads and all that good stuff. But our detention ponds, we have 3, and 1 is in a wetland area. So because the water runoff goes into our detention ponds, as well as the rainwater, ours dump into the Hubbard drain, which is currently the discharge pipe, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, is always underwater. So I lodged a complaint with Wayne County. A troubleshooter came out, an engineer came out, walked the entire Hubbard drain behind our sub till it met to Griggs drain, I believe it is. Griggs. And he did note, because he met with me and I was out there for hours with him, that there are certain violations. He noted, but I've heard nothing, and it's been about 3 years, because that Hubbard drain fills up past that discharge pipe. It's above that discharge. So when the water runs out of our ponds, it have nowhere to go. So we've got many homeowners that are flooded basement. We've spent thousands to clear those drains. So we understand it's our responsibility because we've been paying the cost to get those drains cleared out. So I don't have a problem with that. But because of that Hubbard drain, you know, if we can get something done there, I believe it may alleviate some of the pond backflow or the water levels in those ponds that are causing our homeowners to pay too much money to get their basements redone. Right, an unfortunate situation.
We maintain our pond, our retention pond, the two that we have, and ours flow into the McKinstry drain and the McLaury drain. They've already told us that there's an issue with one of those drains and they're trying to work on it. But trying to work on it, I mean, we're doing our part, but when we get to the Wayne County side, they're not doing their part, which now pushes the water back to us. That's not our fault.
Exactly.
That's a county problem. And they should be held liable for that. If something is wrong with their throughput, where the water is supposed to go and it's causing the water to back up to us, that is their responsibility. That's not ours. Even though it's occurring on our property and in our pond, we have documentation that shows we manage our ponds. We pay for drains. We pay for the ponds to be the timers and to take the fountain out. And we do all of that every year, but yet and still we get flooded. So that's a county issue that they're pushing back to us because they know they have an issue on their end. And it's not fair to the homeowners whose basements and walkouts and yards are flooding because the county's drain is blocked.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. I appreciate your comments, and especially with your inside knowledge of working for the county. So I appreciate that. Sanjay, you have your hand up again?
Yes. So I need all you guys' help because you're not saying anything that we don't already know to combine forces. So here's another buzzword. You go down to Mr. Best, fill out a Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, and ask for your subdivision's stormwater drainage agreement with Van Buren Township. And I guarantee you, some of you don't have a stormwater drainage agreement with Van Buren Township. Until then, the township is responsible for those drains because they were never officially handed off to your subdivision. However, once the agreement is in place, then whoever agrees to take care of this effort will pay for it. So you should each collectively go to the township and see if you have a stormwater drainage agreement. And if not, you know, you can, of course, Matt Best can't do anything about it, but collectively we can decide, hey, where are all these issues? I'm having the same exact issues that you guys are. But you know, we would like to collectively address this as a township. You know, if you call Matt Best, he'll just simply say, I can't do anything about it. But, you know, coming together, you know, get your as-built plans, get your drainage plans, look at these drains. And as more and more development happens, there's going to be more and more flooding. Every time it rains, I'm hitting the 100-year flood stage. This is not just my problem. Clearly, everybody's having the same issue. And if you read the meeting minutes from last month, every subdivision has complained about flooding. So this is a township-wide issue. And so let's, you know, collectively come at it. And yeah, you know, I've been paying I've been paying to clean these ponds up. And the ponds are collecting county road water, but I don't have a stormwater drainage agreement with, the VBT. But if I go to VBT and Matt Best, hey, you pay for it. Well, guess what? Everybody's basements are flooding, so I don't have a choice. I got to do it. But we got to pin these things down. We got to formalize the process. We got to put the paperwork in place and then address them.
Thank you, Sanjay. Andrea?
So my question may best be suited towards Sanjay. When your property was built without storm drain anything,
yeah,
how do you go about getting to be a part of that?
So this is an even bigger problem. Our developer had $1 million bond that was supposed to fix all these things, including streetlights and proper drainage. And Wade Trim was the engineering firm that signed off on it without even making a single inspection. And the township returned the $1 million bond to the developer, who promptly declared bankruptcy and disappeared. We have a bucket full of problems, exactly the same as yours, with nowhere to turn to get these things solved for any kind of help. So, as an HOA, we don't have nearly as much money as a condo would. So, okay, I get it. But, we need collective help from the township. Multiple HOAs can come together. Some of these drains that are running are almost, going through all our subs. We have to collectively solve this problem as a township, because my biggest problem is, and it's mentioned in the last meeting minutes, is when somebody moves into my sub, they can't wait to get the heck out of here and go to Canton or Novi or some other place, right? I'm losing people that are role models that'll improve the township. So these are some things that we have to address collectively, and clearly all you guys have the same problem. And if you want, I can help you with this. Just call me. I'll walk you through your plans. I can, walk out with you. I've had to learn this, this was not my job, but I had to figure this out the hard way. And, Matt Best doesn't exactly volunteer all the information, because he has his daily job and his own set of problems that he's not going to take the time out to explain it to you. So I'll be happy to help.
Thank you, Sanjay. Terry Murioka, did you join the meeting a little late? I just want to be able to acknowledge you if you did.
No, I was here at the beginning. I was in and out of video.
Okay, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I've been listening all along.
Okay, thank you.
I did have a thought, though. All of these people who are having these drainage issues, does the township not even have an interest in helping them and representing them with Wayne County? They're taxpayers here, and I understand it's not the township's responsibility, but it's a quality of life issue in our township, which affects us all.
Mm-hmm. That would never be my position, and I believe, I believe, and I have Trustee Boynton on the line too, that it is the township's position to try to help, even when it's outside of our jurisdiction, to help our residents have their voice be heard, whether it's with the county or on any other issue. So, I mean, that's not a position I would ever take, that we get into that there's a finger pointing game and the township is relieved of all, whether it's our accountability or not, but whether I believe that we do have an interest in supporting our residents' interests as a quality of life. And that's my position. So, and I've always done that when I've had different reports. These issues that Sanjay, that you guys are talking about with stormwater and things like that, these are, as you know, the higher the price tag and the bigger the price tag of the issue is, the harder it is to find a resolution to them all. But I would never, me personally, would never take a position where the township, whether it's our personal jurisdiction or not, is somewhat can throw their hands up and just say, we don't have any interest in helping to represent the interests of our residents. So, and I believe that a committee like this is set up and then kind of supports that this is a big reason, because our HOAs are so representative of our population, that this is a step in that direction, that we can kind of help our voice be heard, and given these members and these different HOAs a bigger voice to help represent, or at least go to Wayne County to say some of these issues with drainage. And there might not be a perfect resolution for it, but maybe we can at least get a response for it and kind of move some things along. So thank you for your commentary.
To kind of tag along with what Dan is saying, I now can see where my position, being an HOA president and also the township trustee, where the two hats that I wear can sometimes be stacked on top of each other. It is to say this, as a HOA president, I've got a question, really, because I'm really listening to all of this, and I appreciate the comments made by Terry Morioka. It's absolutely a quality of life issue, but I do have one question that I really need answered by the folks who are here. As far as the all the HOAs that are here, have any of you, or are any of you, a unfinished or incompleted subdivision as a whole? You know, I know Country Walk was left in 2008 or 6 or 7. Our builder, our primary developer, the LLC folded and went bankrupt. And if I can just kind of take a quick little poll, if you can bear with me for a minute, Dan.
Sure.
Has anyone else been an unfinished cooperation? I see Hickory Woods was well, just hold your hand up on the screen. Those of you, who was the unfinished?
I'm speaking for my neighbor. I put in the chat.
You're speaking for
your neighbor, Rachel. Is that Rachel or Nicole? Nicole Bishop. Okay. So Nicole, I noticed Andrea's hand. I noticed Chief McAnally's hand. He has a notoriously uncompleted development, which is I do know is making progress, but yes, is and I see Dwight Snodgrass's hand as well. Ms. Coleman's hand, just acknowledging each of those.
I'm thinking that a good portion of what some of the drainage issues you all may have is because of the fact that it was left unfinished. And I believe, Andrea Yerk, the entire back portion of your area is just nothing, correct? It's just a road. Yeah, you just have a big U of a road going back.
And we have to keep it maintained so that way we don't get fined.
Yeah, yeah. And you see,
but we can't get any help with anything.
Right. And I see where you may have the comments that where there's not a whole lot we can do for you. I can see that. It's unfinished, and it is part of what I call the negative transgressions of an LLC, basically folding up its piece of paper and then moving on to another development. And that's really a shame. But I won't get into all of that. And then as a trustee, I can see how we really need to have our board establish some type of a vehicle to whereas we can have all of this looked into. It's not going to be solved overnight. It probably won't be solved within the next year or two, unfortunately, especially as things are now. We're still in a pandemic, and things are still moving fairly slowly. But we pretty much have to hang in there and see what it is that we got to do. I wouldn't, I have to certainly uphold all of my colleagues, if you will, meaning Chief McNally, Lieutenant Bazzi, Dan Selman, Jennifer Price, Matt Best, and all the others as well. They have a duty and they have a responsibility that they have to work within and may not be able to speak their mind as freely as I can, which is why I'm doing it now. And that may be why you are getting some of the responses that you're getting. And I can understand why you would come back with some of the comments and some of the statements that you're making in regards to that. But what we need to do is to do what Sanjay said, and Andrea and CJ and all of us here. We need to come together. We need to figure out what it is that we have before us, and each one of us take care of what we're supposed to do in our areas, and then come together and make mention to the township, hey, this is what we've done, this is what we've cleared up, we've handled all of what we're supposed to handle. And then we take it to the county and say, all right, you can't say anything back to what we have done, or what have we done, or what our responsibility is. We've handled what we can handle as much as possible. We need you for this portion here, because that's what we've done in Country Walk, at least Country Walk 3. We've gone and, you mentioned as far as getting the as-built, as far as foyering the agreement with the township as far as the drainage and everything else. I have all of those. I have all of those, and I acquired all of those back in 2010. I have all of them. And we have gone through and jetted our ponds. We dug out some stuff. We've spent thousands on top of thousands of dollars of making sure that the drainage ponds in our area are clear, and even a couple more in an adjacent area next to ours, to make sure that the water that's running into the main county drain is clear. And I've helped another subdivision or two that share that drain as well. And now, does Country Walk flood? No. Does it come close? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it comes close. And we watch the ponds fill right on up, and then we watch them go back down. And every time we get one of those really, really good rains, those waters fill right on up. And, we just wait until, well, what's going to happen with the county? What are they going to do? When is it finally going to overtip? We just keep hoping and praying that it doesn't happen. But Country Walk has taken the steps to handle everything that we can ourselves. up to this point. Now, everyone may not be able to do that, but you have to at least make the attempt so that the county really has no other way to go, because Monica is right. It is a lot of bureaucracy that you have to handle at the county level. I mean, it's a ton. And the way that they present it out there, it makes you stop and think for a half a second. Okay, well, do we have this? Do we have that? Are we sure about this? And the minute that they have us in that position, it looks kind of tough, you know, but it's rough. And, you know, I hear what you're saying as far as, you got 109 residents and you can't raise the money on your own. I have 108 homes. I have 108 residents. You have exactly the number of residents that I have in my subdivision. We are in the black. We're doing pretty well. Okay. But this is 2021. We started this in 2008. Okay. Wow. That is why we're in the position we're in now.
Thank you, trustee. You guys made a major time investment.
Yeah, it took us years to get to where we are now. That's why I'm saying all of this. It takes time. It takes time. And I'm sorry, it takes time.
All right.
Thank you, trustee. Real quick, I saw that Rachel briefly had her hand up, so I want to give her, she hasn't spoke very much. I want to give her an opportunity to comment if she did have a comment, because I did see she briefly had her hand up, and then I saw Chief McAnally had his hand up as well.
I did, sorry. I just have a question. Is there an ordinance in Van Buren about broken down cars in the neighborhood that are on the road for a long period of time?
Thank you for that. Lieutenant Bazzi?
Yes, there is. It's called a dismantled vehicle.
Okay, thank you. I'll look that up.
Also, that goes for vehicles that are not properly registered.
Yep.
Okay.
If there's any condition that prohibits that vehicle from movement, that falls under dismantled vehicle. So if you want to shoot me an email,
yep,
give me as much information on the location, what type of vehicle, even if it's got a plate, maybe a VIN, I can get that resolved pretty quick.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
But the other caveat, if it's in the street, I can get rid of it real fast.
Yep.
But if it's in a house, in the driveway on their property, then that might take some court action.
Okay, yeah, it's in the street. There's actually a couple of them.
I'll send it to me, and I guarantee you I'll have something done by Monday.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you so much.
Did you want to share your email and chat? You, of course, can get a hold of ordinance through public safety, but
I'll share my email so you guys can shoot me his.
I'll just shoot it. I'll just put it in chat right now.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Chief McAnally?
Yeah, somebody made a comment earlier that we're in like the infancy stage in the Cobblestone Ridge condominiums. I technically don't represent them because we don't have an association yet. The builder is still the association. So we're running through problems with trying to get that turned over. They're down to their last building now. And my big thing is that I'm concerned, and the township well knows the builder that we're dealing with and the problems that come with that we're lucky enough it's the same builder. It's been here the entire time. He's changed different things throughout the process, but it's been the same owner. And I just don't want to see the township return any money to him when there's still items that need to be addressed as far as what he hasn't done for the development yet, because he is down to his last 4 units, and then he can be done with the condos, although he sounds like he's still selling houses and back. So there's some things that we need to work through. And I just want to make sure that when the township goes to do their final sign-offs with builders and stuff, that they maybe check with the associations and make sure that they don't have any outstanding complaints or violations that haven't been taken care of yet before they just sign off and return any bond money that might be sitting out there.
Thank you, Chief. Sanjay, I do see your hand raised again. I wanted to see if there anybody else who wanted to jump in had an opportunity to, and not yet. So go ahead, Sanjay.
I had a question for the chief, building on Rachel's question. So my sub is all county roads, and there are people, because parking is only allowed on one side, and there are people that are parking with their car in the grass. So you have the road, and then you have the easement where the homeowner takes care of the grass. Then you have the sidewalk, and then their private property. So people are parking with the wheel on the curb, and sometimes the wheel completely on the grass where the homeowner can't mow their yard or take care of it. Now, I did some homework, and there is no law in Michigan preventing somebody from doing this. So what recourse do we have to get the vehicle removed? Can the homeowner have the vehicle towed away because it's sitting on his grass?
Lieutenant Bazzi and I had a conversation very close to what you're talking about, which I'm glad you brought it up, but let me have him answer that part first before I get into the fire lane side of it. Go ahead, LT.
Because that is part of the county right of way and you're in county roads, you cannot have the vehicle removed. You're kind of in a civil issue with that person.
So if my neighbor parks his vehicle in my grass and I can no longer mow my grass, which happens to be in the easement, there's nothing I can do about it other than have a civil lawsuit against?
Define one tire. We talking 4 tires? I mean,
at least one tire.
One tire, you're going to have a problem with that. And you can call dispatch. We'll send a patrol car out there and knock on your neighbor's door and ask your neighbor nicely to, not park his car like that. Right. But the best thing is if it's your neighbor and he's causing a problem for you, knock on his door and say, hey, I'd like to cut my grass. And you keep parking your car there and it's hard for me to take care of that. And they'll probably just say, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know any better.
So yes, a majority of them do say that. Yes, we've also had pushback that say that there is no law against doing this. So once that happened, we did the police said that, all they can do is talk to the neighbor. There is no way to enforce this. But it is getting to be somewhat of a problem when somebody pulls up right on the curb or on the grass. Running a lawnmower next to it without scratching the car is impossible. And it does create some problems. And I don't know if the HOA has the authority to pass bylaws that covers the county roads too. Because can we have these cars towed in winter when there's a snow coming and we're paying to plow the county roads because the county isn't going to come by? Is that feasible? So I did have a lot of questions on roads in the category of the HOA is in the county roads. If I was on private roads, this wouldn't even be a conversation. I would just instantly have them towed.
100% correct.
Yes. So yeah,
private roads, you have a lot more
correct
discretion on what you want to do, but you are not going to be able to pass bylaws to regulate county roads.
Right.
That's governed by Michigan law.
So yeah, I would like to work with the township to come up with some kind of maybe a local ordinance or something that, it's like, hey, can you be good neighbors, please? I
can just tell you this. Part of having a homeowners association is exactly what it says. It's a homeowners association where everybody communicates with what their issues are together to resolve things as a community.
Right.
And a lot of times that's fallen to the wayside.
Correct.
Right. Can I enforce rules on the county road as an HOA? That's my question.
No.
Right. So
the county has jurisdiction and so does the state of Michigan.
So
as well as Van Buren Township.
So the HOA cannot extend its reach onto the county road, which goes through our sub.
That's correct.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I would like to solve as a collective for other HOAs that are kind of like me.
Well, by law, you can't.
You can't.
It cannot happen. That is governed by the state of Michigan, Wayne County, and Van Buren Township. The HOA by law cannot intercede into that arena.
Yeah, so if I have to take it to the state all the way to Lansing, I might, but I gotta start here, right?
You can't. You would have to go there and work backward, but there's nothing that we can do.
Okay. Understand.
Our hands are tied.
Exactly.
Thank you. Chief, did you have another follow-up portion
Yeah,
of that? I know
there
you
was-
deferred Lieutenant Bazzi for.
Yeah, there was two parts in there. One, I have a question for Lieutenant Bazzi. Correct me if I'm wrong, LT. Haggerty subdivision, we had a problem with some of the courts with the cars parking. We actually worked with Wayne County to have them put up fire lane signs, and then that became enforceable because it was a county road. Am I wrong with that?
You are correct. It took a lot of effort to get the county out there to take care of their jurisdiction, but eventually it did happen. I believe that was a 4-year project.
Yeah, it was. And once they put up the fire lane signs, then it became enforceable. That's something that could be done. And that's part of the problem I'm running into from the fire department emergency vehicle aspect with a lot of the developments, and a lot of it happened prior to everybody living here and taking over their current roles and jobs. Some of the places are not designed very well for parking on the street and or parking period. And we have problems getting into, and we're working on some of the developments that are still under construction. We're able to put a little bit more work into with them to get some of those things handled. Some of the existing property, if it's private roads, are things that we need to work with the homeowners association on having at least one side of the road a defined fire lane. I mean, there's some places where we can't get an ambulance or even my pickup truck down. We're certainly not going to get a tower truck that has a 16-foot wide reach when we're trying to set the outriggers to raise the ladder up. There's just some areas that we're not. Hickory Woods is a good example of that. I took that truck in there with Dan Powers and showed him how much room you need to have to set up. And the problem is, once the roads are in and the buildings go up, we're stuck with that. So the other option we need to be cognizant of is making sure like mailboxes and the hydrants are on the same side of the street if possible, because that makes it much more easier to say that we want to have a defined fire lane, right? Because the post office wants to get to their mailboxes and we need to get to the fire hydrants. If we put those on the same side of the street, that makes things a little bit easier. But there's some developments that it's way past that and there's nothing we could do with it. So we have to try to work with who we can to be able to get to things. And Hickory Woods does have some signage up, which is nice, but I can't turn some of the trucks around in those streets because they weren't designed for a truck to turn around. They look nice and you can drive in it, and I love that. Matter of fact, that's where I take some of my new firefighters driving training, because I think if you make it to this turn, you can make it anywhere. But
that's why we haven't blocked off the back 40 area so that you guys have a place to be able to go around.
Greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. So there's different things in there that we're working on, and we're trying to work with the different municipalities. And if you have fire lane issues, signage is the easiest way for private roads. If it's HOA and private roads and you put signage up, and Lieutenant, again, correct me if I'm wrong, once they put up signage and they give you authorization, you then have the ability to help facilitate those fire lanes and keeping them clear. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Good.
Thank you.
I'm all set.
Terry, I might want to go back just a little bit because there's some portion of it, but Terry directed, and Lieutenant Bazzi, you may have answered it, but I just wanted to get Terry's out there. She says, does this apply to private condo roads? Terry, did you want to elaborate, or Lieutenant Bazzi, did you know what her question was about? The parking?
No, what did he call it? The dismantled vehicle ordinance. We right now have a car that hasn't moved in probably a year, and we don't even know who it belongs to, and we just want to get it out of here.
Okay, if you can shoot me an email with the exact location, the best description of the vehicle that you can give me, I will address that immediately. For all we know, right now, that vehicle could be stolen and dumped there, and nobody checked on it. Nobody even saw it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And it just sits there, pieces falling off, and it smells like a pot factory.
Okay. If you could just send me an email, I'll get on it first thing in the morning. Okay.
Thank you. But in general, as far as private roads goes, that ordinance is still enforceable?
Yeah, if it's on a private road, we have access to be in there. One thing that I just want to say to all the HOAs, if you have a private road, we need a letter from you on a yearly basis telling us you're requesting our services to enforce laws of the state of Michigan, the ordinance of Van Buren Township.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. I'll take a picture of it in the morning and send it to you.
Perfect, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrea?
So just to clarify, Lieutenant Bazzi, is that for getting, does that bring police patrol through our community as well? Without having to specially request it, if we get that letter to you?
One second, Andrea. Lieutenant, you're still on mute?
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Officers should be patrolling in your subdivisions on a daily basis regardless. So.
I doubt it. I don't think they come out here unless we ask. Now, when we do ask, we usually get somebody in a reasonable amount of time, but I don't think they come through here without, we've actually been told in the past, we will never get anybody out here unless we call specifically and ask. Because it's private.
Don't find that true.
Okay.
Just as a rule of thumb, I'm going to touch on, we talked about speeding early in the meeting. I'd say roughly 98% of the people who get stopped for speeding in subdivisions and running stop signs are the residents. So just kind of bear in mind, folks, be careful. I always like to tell people, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. A lot of times, correspondence with your residents, asking them to pay attention to what they're doing as far as speed, stop signs, kids in the area. Little reminders help. They go a long way. Just as a rule of thumb.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Sanjay, I do see you have your hand raised again. So I can go to you and we can kind of maybe open it up shortly. We've covered a lot of ground. I wanted to be respectful for a lot of people's time too. And they're, it's not going to be our last meeting. So I wanted to, Sanjay, recognize you again and then kind of see if there's any last things and we could talk about when we'd like to schedule another meeting. Sanjay, you're on mute.
Can't hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, question for Lieutenant Bazzi. And I put in chat also. I understand the street is not designed for vehicle storage and the vehicle should be moved every 48 to 72 hours. Otherwise, you are able to enforce something on it, right?
Well, if a vehicle doesn't move, we can put a sticker on it. Usually we don't like to put a sticker on a vehicle unless there's some indication that the vehicle has not moved for a long period of time.
Sure. And that could help Terry. And we also have some vehicles in our sub that are just not moving. They're rusted. They're just eyesores. And so, we do call you when we need it, but we don't let you guys have open season on our residents. So, and your officers do patrol our sub. I do see them at least 4 times a day. So thank you very much.
So the police officers do not enforce the dismantled vehicle ordinances. They strictly stay with the criminal code, but the ordinance officers handle the dismantled vehicles.
Super.
Okay, so dismantled, what about ones that, as they're speaking about, that seem to be almost abandoned or not, they're not moved for long periods of time?
So like I said, we like to look at a vehicle like that and look at things like, are the tires low? Is there oil leaking from the transmission or from the motor? Things of that nature that show us that the vehicle is non-operable. Once we can determine that the vehicle hasn't moved for a long time, we have a better ground to stand on, because ultimately, if we go in and start snickering people's vehicles because they haven't moved for 4 days and we start citing people, it's going to open up a problem for the township court, because ultimately we are the government and we have to operate in a reasonable manner and have to prove that in court. So we're kind of tread lightly on that.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Okay, I want to keep things kind of moving along and kind of see if anybody had any last general comments of anything before we kind of just move to the last topic, which is just to discuss when would be an opportune time to look at scheduling another meeting. So we'll stick with the hands things. Ms. Coleman?
Yeah, I'd just like to find out, is there any way our builders still have 3 lots to complete? Is there any way, or do you know if there's a plan he had to submit, or is there any way we can find out what his plan is for those last 3 lots in our subdivision?
Yeah, so you luckily picked a good time to ask that question, because our Director of Planning and Economic Development joined us a little bit late, but I'm glad that he was able to join us. He has a very full schedule. As Director Dan Power, he's probably best suited to answer this question.
Oh, good. Perfect.
Good evening. What was the neighborhood that you reside in?
Wildbrook.
Wildbrook, okay. I don't know the timeline or the last version of the plan for that project, but I will find out tomorrow morning. Do you happen to have an idea of around when the last home went up in your neighborhood?
About 1.5 years.
Okay. All right, I can look into that.
Thank you. Would you like to either share your number in a comment, or do you want to be able to email Mr. Power?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm glad to put my email up on the screen as well.
Okay, so we'll do both of you. He'll share his email, and if you want to put your number in there, he will follow up with you in a timely manner.
Okay, very good.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, Ms. Jackson?
Just have one question. There is some debris that has been dumped behind our ponds between Haggerty and Morton Taylor. One of our residents sent some photos. It looks like mattresses and things of that nature. And we're just trying to figure out who's responsible for clearing that debris. Because it's not part of Homestead. It's like a road, I guess, that allows the county or whoever to get back there to the drains. But the debris has been there for some months and it hasn't been cleared yet.
Are you talking about the road that parallels the power lines off Van Born?
Yes.
Okay. That would be the property owner's responsibility. So
who owns it? We don't.
Well, I got news for you. I don't know either. I have to look that up through the assessor's office. But with that being said, I can take a look at that and get that addressed. Because they used to have it. They used to have it chained off, and I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, and the chain looks like the chain was broken or something, and somebody went back there and dumped some of their stuff.
Okay. Well, I'll get on that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Ms. Coleman, you had your hand raised?
Oh, no, you've already answered my question.
Okay, it was still up, so okay.
Yes.
Okay, any last comments? Oh, okay. So for a schedule, as we kind of talked about, we're going to move towards a more I think I got a pretty strong consensus that we'd move towards formalizing this committee in good time. And it's something that we'll definitely pick up on the next meeting and maybe try to maybe get some bylaw guidance on there and try to come up with some ideas. And would have to do some research myself on what would be involved with that and getting some interaction between our board of trustees, because that is something that they would also have say on. You know, we started this initiative, but I can relate to them that this is something that this committee would like to move in the direction of. So I have to do a little research on my end, and it's something that with the supervisor and our board of trustees in collaboration, that's something that they would also have to have buy-in to have a more established, formalized committee. With that being said, I know the last time we met was in June, and we kind of want to get through the summer, and everybody has a very busy schedule. You know, school is starting up for anybody's here who has children. So perhaps every other month or something like that, but we can kind of do kind of around also by the hand raising technique again to kind of see what type of meeting schedule they might. Doesn't need to be made in stone. Chief McAnally says every 2 months as an idea. So feel free to use your chat function as well. But with that being said, what might be a feasible meeting schedule for everyone else? Sanjay?
I would like to also understand how the township government works to some high level. How do you generate your income? Where does it come from?
Property taxes.
How many residents we have? Maybe some demographic information. So those things would be helpful. So, we have a lot of people that can offer a lot of help and services, or, things like that we would like to know how the other side works.
Okay, so
I think all of that is on all that's on the township website, isn't it?
A lot of it is, as far as demographic information, a great site that I would steer you to that has great data and community profiles is SEMCOG.
How do you spell that?
SEMCOG. And I want to say it's semcog.org. You can find out from
it is .org.
.org, yeah.
Yeah.
They have great statistics, great community profiles, and demographic information. As far as where we generate income, it's almost all millage and property taxes. And there's of course some state shared revenue and things like that, but that's where most of our income comes in from. So back to the meeting schedule, I have Monica Jackson saying every 2 to 3 months. Tanya Harrelson agrees every 2 to 3 months. Every quarter from Mr. Snodgrass. Terry Majorca says that sounds good to me. Diane Boynton is showing 2 months.
Yep.
Every 2 months. Okay. Anybody else? Rachel Stradling says 2 months. Andrea York, I think I got it right. 2 months is fine with her. So, okay. I'm getting here mostly a range from 2 months to every quarter, which is a quarter is 3 months. So feel free to keep throwing those out, but based on that kind of gives me a little wiggle room and kind of what we've done here. 2 to 3 months in that kind of general time frame. Ms. Coleman says 2 months. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So if anybody, I'm gonna kind of split the baby and kind of look at a 6 week time frame, at least for the next period, because I've got between 2 months and every quarter.
Okay.
Taking the King Solomon approach. So I'm gonna kind of look at 6 weeks from now and kind of look at something that might be feasible out there, and we'll do the same thing, send out notifications to our members and each our email addresses and share our minutes again, and kind of look at a 6 week window to schedule again, follow up, and I appreciate everybody's participation and taking the time out of their busy day and joining us this evening.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So thank you for all of our participants. Thank you, Lieutenant Bazey, Chief McAnally, Director Power, for joining us, and our moderators and our new recording secretary, Jennifer Price.
Yes, good meeting.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Feel
Good night.
free to use that. Feel
Take
free,
care.
just last words, feel free to use that function that has a Google Sheet that you're able to have a fillable form on our homepage. And feel free to either email me or Jennifer Price for Mr. Welsling's method that he was able to share correspondence and ask for a topic to be a more specific topic to be added to this meeting. There's nothing wrong with that at all, and it helps us kind of have a concentrated method of tackling topics.
All right, works well. Thank
Night
you.
all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Night, everyone.